In this video, we're going to talk about giving your passwords to your service providers. This is something that happens a lot, and we want to talk about the dangers and how to prevent that. This is a continuing series of questions that executives should ask their IT professionals. This presentation is very much geared toward executives so they understand what to do. It's kind of nice tonight. I'm at my home, sitting next to a nice warm fire up in the mountains, and everybody else is already asleep. So you may hear me talking quietly. Sitting around a fire like this, it's a good time to tell a story. So I've built one for you. We need to illustrate this. This is so important. So think of your network and all of your users, and there's somebody in your network that's very important, and that is the network administrator. You may have one of them, you may have 20, depends on the size of your company, but these people have the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. They're the ones who can run your whole network. Basic things, if someone forgets a password, they're the ones who can reset it. But they go up from there. They may want to go on and deploy patches to your entire system or install new software everywhere. They have quite a bit of control, and they can generally see every data file you have on your system. Let's look at just one department, because then the picture's bigger and it's easier to see. But you've got your domain administrator there, and a lot of your users. And we talked about how the network administrator already has rights to everything. What'll happen is you'll hire outside consultants to do one thing or another. That's what they always do. We're outside consultants. It's a normal thing. And you're also going to buy software and put it on your network, a lot of common software. And lots of times companies will have some important program that's special just to their industry. Might be paperless office, imaging software, it could be the insurance package, it could be pretty much anything, but it's special just for you or at least your industry. Now, the situation is that lots of times vendors want to get passwords from your administrator. And they tell you want the passwords because they want to get in and support your system, they want to provide updates. And lots of times there's a valid reason that they go ahead and get passwords into your system. And it makes a lot of sense. Your administrator now, he's kind of put in a tough position. Should he give the password or should he not give the password? And what it boils down to is the executives are not consulted a lot of the times because the domain administrator just knows, hey, the executive wanted us to run this program. In order to use the program, we have to go ahead and give the keys to the vendor of the software. That's just how it works. Then the other situation is your consultants are going to want passwords. Obviously, they need to come in and help maintain the system, and sometimes they'll even give you a password to set up. The example we use is your company's 7. They're usually more complex, but we're going to keep things simple just for the illustrations here. Your domain administrator is going to go ahead and give the outside consultant a password so the outside consultant can get their work done, and that's just kind of standard. It makes a lot of sense. So the outside consultant can help you, your vendor can support you, and they can support and take care of all your users as well if you ask them to do so. So this is the perfect scenario, and it's how a lot of companies operate now. The problem comes in, and not all of them will do this, but occasionally some of these vendors will not be very careful with your passwords. And these attackers that are out there in the world love that. An attacker might go to your vendor of your software, and they might discover there's a password file somewhere stored at the vendors where they keep a list of all their customers and all the passwords of their customers. And the attacker gets that, and it's a gold mine for them to be able to find all that information because now they're able to obtain the keys that the vendor has. Not only that, another attacker might go to your outside consultant and start looking around. Or lots of times the outside consultant fired an employee, and the employee is very angry about it. And the employee may have some inside information, so to speak. Let's say, for example, that there's a pattern that the consultant uses for all our customers. So, for example, maybe they use this company, 7, that company, 7, Acme company, 7, your company, 7. They're going to be able to predict already what the password is going to be. So that allows that attacker to have credentials into your network. So that becomes the issue, is the attackers now know how to get in, and they are going to get in. Once they access your network, they have access to everything in that network. A very dangerous situation. If they're able to be quiet and not do anything noticeable, they may go undetected for a long time, stealing information, They can go in and use your system if they want to store illegal content they wouldn't want to store anywhere else. They might provide what's called a denial of service attack, where they shut down your systems, meaning you can't get any work done. And once this becomes visible, the executives, they're like shocked. They can't believe this has happened, and they're very upset, almost always, naturally. For example, if all production is stopped, then until anything can be fixed, they can't serve their customers. That can be very expensive in a lot of companies, not only because of lost production, but because your customers start getting angry. They're not getting their orders, they're not getting their service. You understand the danger. Another problem is sometimes they're required by law to, and I'm not a lawyer, nothing I say can be misconstrued as legal advice, check with your legal advisor, but sometimes my friends who ask their lawyers tell them their lawyers told them that this company may have to notify everyone they've ever done business with and notify them about the breach. That's expensive to notify these people. It's already also very expensive for the reputation of the company. So not going to be a good thing because customers are not going to be happy. The executive lots of times is very upset. They ask, why wasn't I consulted before we gave access to our service providers? Well, lots of times that conversation just doesn't happen. That's one of the reasons you're learning from this video, the kind of questions you want to go back and talk with your IT network administrators about. So a lot of problems. The attackers are saying, too late now. It's just a tough deal. And lots of times your people in the IT department, they're just hoping they don't get fired. They feel like they were just doing their job. And sometimes it doesn't work out so well for them. They can even become the scapegoat of the whole situation. Not a good thing. So the executives are asking, how could I have prevented this? And of course, I'd like you to prevent it before any of this ever happens. So here are 5 questions that you should ask your IT professionals. Question number 1. Who outside of your company can log in? Find out who are the vendors, who are the consultants, anybody. Who is it that your domain administrator has set up in the system? You can ask them to show you. There's a window that says, here is everybody who's able to get in. And sometimes one of the members that can get in is a group of people. So you need to go in and say, hey, who's a member of that group? You may be surprised how many people can authenticate into your system. Are their accounts disabled until they need in? So if you have Consultant ABC, if Consultant ABC is not going to be in for the next few days, you want to disable that consultant's account. That way, if an attacker has the username and password that consultant uses, then the attacker is not going to be getting in because the consultant's account is disabled. Are their accounts set up to automatically expire? What that means is if you have company DEF going to consult for you and they're supposed to be working for a week, your domain administrator can open up that account for vendor DEF and set the account to expire, for example, 10 days later. Then nobody has to remember anything. You don't have to do anything. 10 days later, that vendor's account will just expire, and they won't be able to get in. More importantly, attackers will not be able to get in if they steal the vendor's username and password. Sometimes it's important to ask IT, in the past 6 months, how many times did that particular vendor actually need to log in? Because it's real easy to lose track of time. Sometimes IT professionals will think, you know what, that person needs in every couple weeks. But you go and pull the logs, you may find that that company has only logged in once in the past 6 months. It just makes it even easier to decide, yes, we definitely want to lock this user out when they don't need to be in. Then the last question is, ask IT, do we give them a new password every time we enable their account? So if you have company XYZ connect to your network, you give them a password, you set it to automatically expire, and it does. And then company XYZ comes back 2 months later and does some more work, you need to give company XYZ a brand new password. So that way, if there was an attacker, anyone who learned the username and password for that customer, now the username and password is just changed, and the attacker is not going to be able to get into your account. Very important to follow all these. For more IT best practices, come visit the website, fosterinstitute.com.